From The National, this is Trending Middle East. I'm Yasmin Al-Taji. It's Friday, May 16th. Here are today's headlines. Donald Trump is wrapping his visit in the UAE today, ending his tour of the Gulf. He arrived in Abu Dhabi yesterday, becoming only the second serving U.S. president to visit the country. He was welcomed by UAE President Sheikh Mohamad before visiting Sheikh Zayed's Grand Mosque, an architectural landmark and one of the largest mosques in the world. The two leaders held bilateral talks, and Trump praised his long friendship with UAE President Sheikh Mohamad.
What a lot of people don't know, I think my staff is very surprised by it. You and I have been friends for a long time. We've been good friends.
President Sheikh Mohammed bestowed Trump with the Order of Zayed, the UAE's highest civilian honor. It's a medal made of pure gold, and it's become a rare honor granted to presidents and dignitaries from around the world over the years.
Day one of President Donald Trump's visit to the United Arab Emirates was nothing short of grand.
The National's Mohamad Ali Harisi was on the ground during the visit. Here he is with more.
From the artillery at Qasr al-Watan to the silence of the Sheikh Zayed Grand Mosque, the UAE rolled out its most prestigious welcome. In Qasr al-Watan, President Trump was awarded the Order of Zayed, the UAE's highest civilian honor, by President Sheikh Mohammed. Earlier in the day, Mr. Trump toured the Grand Mosque with Sheikh Khalid bin Mohammed, then entered the palace for a full schedule of high-level talks and discussions on billion-dollar partnerships.
Deals around AI and tech are expected out of business talks happening today. The UAE and the US have an ongoing AI partnership involving US companies, including Microsoft and IBM, and the UAE's G42 and Mubadala. Sources told The National UAE and US officials have been actively engaged in the lead-up to this visit in the hopes of advancing that partnership. Trump will close out his visit at the Abrahamic family house on Saadiyat Island, a symbol of interfaith dialogue, and is scheduled to leave the country this afternoon. Turkey hosted talks to end the conflict in Ukraine on Thursday, but Russia's delegation arrived in Istanbul without Vladimir Putin. Putin had proposed the talks in Istanbul to find a way to end the war in Ukraine, which entered its fourth year in late February. Here's The National's Lizzie Porter reporting from Istanbul.
I'm standing outside the Ukrainian embassy in the Turkish capital Ankara, where President Volodymyr Zelensky has just given a press conference to journalists here after meeting with Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. He essentially accused Russia of disrespect. He said that the lack of information from the Russian delegation, the relatively low level of officials that have been sent by the Kremlin to interact with Ukraine and Turkish and US officials showed that it was not really serious about having a conversation to try and end this conflict.
The call for talks came after European leaders met in Ukraine and threw support behind the idea of a 30-day ceasefire. Donald Trump had said he might attend the talks in Turkey. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky arrived with his country's negotiators in the Turkish capital Ankara on Thursday. He said he was ready to meet Mr. Putin because, quote, everything in Russia depends, unquote, on the leader of the Kremlin.
He said that he doesn't need necessarily it to be him and Putin that have negotiations on a ceasefire agreement. If the delegations that are in Istanbul for talks, if they have the mandate to start negotiations on a ceasefire agreement, he's happy for that to happen. But he believes that the Russian delegation does not have a mandate to do that.
Israel's army stepped up attacks on Gaza on Thursday, killing at least 100 people. That's according to rescuers. The attacks came as U.S. and Arab mediators pushed for a ceasefire and during U.S. President Donald Trump's visit to the Middle East. Palestinian news agency Wafa reported that warplanes had bombed inhabited homes and tents housing displaced people in various areas of the Gaza Strip, particularly in the southern city of Khan Yunis. The strikes also caused widespread destruction to infrastructure and civilian property. Meanwhile, the UAE has evacuated a further 188 Palestinians from the Gaza Strip in partnership with the World Health Organization under a major humanitarian drive in support of civilians in the war-torn enclave. A flight carrying 101 wounded Palestinians and 87 family members arrived in Abu Dhabi from Israel, state news agency WAM reported shortly after midnight on Thursday. That's all for this morning's headlines. You can get these stories and follow live updates at our site. Yasmin Al-Taji, The National.